out.
You do this every day?
That's right.
Like old
Every
times.
day.
Every
do.
day. Multiple times a day.
Questions? What's your, I guess, big picture evaluation of where you guys are and what you might need to still become?
I mean, I think every year, around this time, you're looking at, okay, how do we improve to give ourselves our best chance? And I think, there's different ways to do it. Obviously, you can improve from within, and we can get better at what we do on both ends of the court, and hopefully make strides individually and in how we fit together. And then you can improve from, free agency or trades or whatever. I do think that, the key to us is going to be the improvement from within. I just think that we've done a really good job of that thus far. I like how, today's practice we came in and worked on exactly what I thought was, dead on to what we need to do to be better, to have more options to play our best. And we've been good thus far, but we're 30 some odd games in, and we've all lived this. This is a journey. We're going to have our ups and downs from here on out, but we're very capable. And I think that, we've shown that.
What have you seen from Joe in his second season as the head coach here, where he's more comfortable with his progress, whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I think Joe's done a great job of right out of the gate saying this is how we need to be. This is what we need to do for each other to be the best that we can be. These are the strengths of your teammates. How can we get those out of them and make that a focal point? People use the word sacrifice a lot. I think it's the idea of being, of serving your team, like being there for the good of your group, and I think he's done a great job of that all the way through. Again, I've been in several of these practices now where we come back off a loss or a long trip, or even some wins where we didn't play very well or didn't do things very well, and we're just doing all the right stuff to improve. And so we're not going to be perfect, but again, I think we got a shot, and we've got an unbelievable group of people, like just all pulling in one direction. My phone doesn't ring very often. Like it's a really good group.
How long did you envision Kristaps, what it might look like with him in this group, and how is it kind of compared to how you envisioned that, just watching him over the years as a coach and as a executive?
Well, I think I said this when we traded for him. I think people get caught up in whatever a guy is from the time he's 19 to 22, and they keep that as his bio forever, right? And I think that you got to watch how people improve and get better, and you can kind of see that in time over Washington. I think he's even improved and taken a step this year, and I think he can still get a lot better. We're asking him to do a lot of things, specifically on the defensive end, that he's not used to, and we're going to have to his continued growth and ascension is going to be important for our team. But he's been great. I mean, obviously, is the way that he puts you in binds as a defense is pretty special, pretty unique.
Regarding potential moves, probably the biggest topic is whether or not you guys add another rotation center to the mix. What's your comfort level in moving forward, going into the playoffs with just the centers that you have on the roster right now?
Well, first of all, adding a rotation center, that'd have to be one hell of a player, right? When you think about we've got really good players. I think what we're looking for and what we most likely, especially with where we are from a tool standpoint, there's really not a ton we can do big without touching our main guys, right? And so what you look at is guys that can play, guys that can add value, but like I said last year, don't need to play. They are over themselves. And I think that that's important. That's what we have right now. And we've gotten obviously great play out of Kristaps. I think Al's been good. I think Luke and Nemi, when called upon, have both added great value. And so, if we end up adding somebody, I don't know that it'll be a game changer in the way that you said it from a rotation standpoint, but from an every night standpoint.
Have Luke and Nemi surprised you? I mean, they played very well.
No, they haven't.
Yep.
They're good players.
Yeah.
And when you're surrounded by good players, especially our guards and wings that we have, your job's a little easier.
Yep.
You get to the rim, they're either gonna throw it up to you, or they're going to throw it out to the other guy for a wide open three because your guy's sinking on you. So they've done a good job of filling their roles. I would like to continue to see how we can, find, another big wing or so that can help us. And I think that could be from within, and I also think that we'll continue to monitor free agency and trades. But again, the difference in this year and maybe other years is our tools are pretty limited, from a dollar standpoint.
And on that standpoint, you guys do have the grant TPE.
We do.
Do you anticipate using that from a standpoint of, I know it adds a lot to the tax bill as well to use that in full. Like, do you have the green light from ownership to
green light to do whatever we need to do for sure in that TPE? That's really the number one tool we have, right? Is the ability to add somebody, but that's 6.1 or 6.2 million, right? So it's a small number of people. A lot of the people that are in that were signed to minimums or smaller contracts or are on their rookie scale deals that teams aren't exactly excited to move on from yet. So it's a very small group of people, but we're going to exhaust it. We're going to look at it, and again, I think it's about who can come in, have the self-awareness to add to the group and the talent to add to the group. I think that one of the strengths of our team is, guys like Derek White, guys like Drew Holiday, they just are so comfortable in who they are. They don't always use a ton of possessions, but the ones they use are unbelievable. And every day they're positive, and every day they lift the group. And I just think that when you start talking about finding guys that complement all of our best players, it's a small group, and we just got to keep on the lookout for it.
Along those lines, when it comes to All-Star, will you be on the phone calling
No,
coaches to that vote? Letting them know about all those things that maybe don't show up in the
No
stat sheet?
one is watching more film than those 14 coaches and the video coordinators they're sitting in there with making those decisions. So I got some emails, I got some phone calls. I always kind of felt like that was like, I know I watched this my whole life. So
I don't need
a little
help.
desperate, yeah. And so I think everybody knows our guys are really good. I always, when I was voting for All-Star, I always, my tiebreaker was winning. So if our team is playing really well throughout the rest of this month, then our tiebreaker may come into play. But I think that ultimately, it's hard. There's only 7 guys that they vote for because there's 12. Is there still 12? Or they should add it? They should do is add to it. Take 13 or 14 people instead of 12. But it's I think we have several guys that are candidates.
Brad, you guys have the best record in the league, and you guys have you like the roster, but considering that you want to win a championship, is there an inherent pressure to do something, or do you have to fight yourself? Can you in February 8th comes, can you say we're good, or are you fighting yourself? What's that kind of feeling like when you feel like if we just add one more guy, but do you need that guy?
First of all, we don't know anything that could happen between now and February 8th, right? Knock on wood. You want to be as fully healthy as you possibly can be. But I just think you're looking to fortify yourself as much as possible. If you can do that again you see the growth from within with young players, with guys that aren't getting as much of a crack in, everyday rotations. That's what you're looking at. And then, again, who can add? I think, Gary, there's 2 ways. When you add players to your team, they can add to your team or take away from your team. I think you just got to be careful, and so that's something to think about when you have as many guys that are complementing each other as well as ours. But, we may go on a 10-game, skid and then we're having a different story. I hope not.
Neemias Queta
I'm not anticipating it.
Neemias Queta has made an impact on a
into
2-way
existence.
contract.
Yep.
Has there been any discussion of upgrading him, or is that something that maybe is tabled till later on in the season?
So we have discussions every day about how we're going to move forward with those other spots in our roster. Right, we have one open spot right now. You have to carry 14. I think it's helpful to go into a trade deadline or whatever with a little bit of flexibility from a roster standpoint. But we have those discussions every day, and with other people too, made a great case. I mean, he's a hard worker. He's been a really good player for us. We anticipated and communicated to him when we got him that he was going to be in Boston a whole heck of a lot more than Maine because we were going to have Al sitting on back-to-backs, and because Kristaps was going to sit a little bit here and there. So we didn't anticipate Luke getting hurt in warm-ups a couple weeks ago. But now that he's back, we feel a little bit more secure there. But he's done a good job, and it's been obviously noted.
You guys have pushed a lot of chips, like from big names like with the Drew trade and the Kristaps trade. With restrictions coming, CBA-wise down the line for high-spending teams like yourself, and just the way you guys look this year, the pressure to add now when you might not be able to add later in some senses with like the assets you have, is that coming to play at all in the next 6 weeks?
I think it's kind of what Gary was saying. I think you try to be smart if you add. How does it fit and how does it not take away, right? And so the tool to do that again is the exception, which is not big. As you said, the major trade deadline move for us was Drew the day before the season started, right? And so we just have to be on the lookout for how we can fortify it, right, and how we can make it better. And again, I don't want to say that person's not in the building, because they might be right now. And I've been very encouraged when our bench has gotten in games that don't play, how they've helped us. And so I'm excited to see, as we go through this stretch, it's 5 games in 8 days, and we have this January is a tough travel schedule for our guys. Like, there's going to be more opportunities for those guys, and that'll be helpful as we head into February.
How much has this new CBA, second apron, all that stuff, I know it's all very new, how much has that impacted how you do your job?
I think it'll impact it a lot more moving forward, obviously, as far as when all of the restrictions kick in. Obviously, we made a decision that was well-informed, I guess, from our standpoint, and with the green light from our ownership to spend and be over the second apron right now. But those are things that people are going to have to make decisions as the tools get more restricted moving forward. But I know you guys have a big day with Mike or who explain all of the fun things that we talk about on a daily basis.
I have a couple questions.
You guys have a few guys, I should say, on non-guaranteed deals coming up. Do you anticipate if that's still in flux into the
I've been really pleased with all those guys. I don't want to say what we do or don't do. I don't want to put I don't want to ever speak in absolutes, but I've been really impressed with all those guys. They've all come in and done well for us.
Do you envision Derek reaching this level when you traded for him, what he's done this year?
I don't think I would put a ceiling on him. I mean, I think that I thought, and I think we said this when we got him, however many years, whenever that was, like, it's going to be a transition for him. He's a really conscientious person. He's never been a high usage, like, get out of my way, I'm going to make every play type of guy or mindset. And so there was going to be a little transition. And one of the reasons we traded for him was he had all those years left on that deal. And we knew that he was a good fit for then and down the road. I'm just love being around him. Like, I'm really happy for him. I think that, again, we would never have put a ceiling on anybody like that, but it's fun to see him recognized for how good he is. And he's really good. Like, the way he impacts basketball games is really special.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.